Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is part 3 of Hall of Famers praising the great Tom Brady. And once again, the reason I've got Dr. Phil and Jim Gray mediating this topic, so to speak, is because they have a way of distinguishing between great players and the greatest ever.
It's got to come down to that drive. It's got to come down to that where they're willing to make the sacrifice and that singularness of purpose. I just believe that to be true.
Well, there's a form of immortality that goes into this. And if it was easy, everybody would do it, but it's not easy. And that's why we have so few who we can look at and say, there they are. And, then there's all of these things that come in. It's not just hard work and dedication. It's proper coaching and mentorship. And it's, the confluence of events that stack all this up. Luck is also involved in it, I know that Coach Wooden used to say, the harder I work, the more luck I get, the luckier I get. Yeah. So, there's that as well. But when you see what these guys go through, I get to go every summer up to Yellowstone National Park and see Tom Brady work out. He goes up there with his private trainer and a couple of his friends, sometimes some of the receivers that he works with, Danny Amendola, perhaps Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman. They've all joined him over the years. Not every year, but from time to time. And if you see what this guy puts in, and this is the week and the month before training camp at altitude.
Right.
And he's trying to get that perfect throw to a bunch of guys, some of us 60 years old plus, and he's out there working that, and he is as engaged in that as he will be trying to win a Super Bowl, because he has to get the mechanics right. And if he leaves that field that morning, he will not leave until he gets it right. And if that means it's another 20 minutes or another hour, he'll stand there with his coach, Alex Guerrero, his personal coach and confidant, and he will get it right.
Then you look at the other side, Tom Brady. Tom Brady could be the league MVP every year. You can make the argument.
Yes, you can.
Every year that he would deserve that right. But I know that's not what he's focused on at all. He's focused on winning championships. And I don't know if there's a guy as disciplined as him when it comes to his preparation and what he does every offseason throughout the season just to prepare to play. And again, I don't know firsthand. I mean, I'm not in the room watching, but I know the guy, and I feel like I've been around him enough to know what he's about.
If there's anyone that can distinguish between Hall of Famers and absolute GOATs, it's Randy Moss. Randy saw up close and personal how great Tom Brady is, day in and day out. His locker was right next to Brady's. He saw it all. I just wish there's more footage of Randy and Brady that I can use and show everyone. As much as I love Jules, I think Brady and Moss are the most lethal quarterback wide receiver duos ever. Let me know if you agree with this, or if you know of another duo that is just as good.
I always knew he had the velocity and the strength on his arm, but there's one thing that really stands out: his precision making and being able to pinpoint this ball. I want y'all to look at 43 years of a man going on the road to try to get himself to compete in another Super Bowl. But Tom Brady, the oldest quarterback right now in the National Football League, is still being able to compete with the best of them today, going on the road. I'm not worried about Tom. Like I said, he's poised for this. He's been in so many different climate weather games, and he's still been able to deliver the ball.
The ability of Tom to dissect what you're trying to do to him, find the open guys and get his guys on the same page to see the same thing that he sees and then execute.
You're a perfect person to ask this question. You saw the birth of the Brady dynasty right there in front of you. You watch more quarterback film than any other human being I know. Yeah. So what do you think makes Tom Brady so great, Kurt?
Well, I mean, I think first, any great quarterback handles every situation well. And that to me with Tom, I mean, way back to when he was a young pup, and here he is in the Super Bowl, and everybody's saying, okay, just take a knee and go into overtime.
Yeah, John Madden, by the way, was saying that on the broadcast.
Exactly. And he leads his team down, and that's the first win. And I think 4 times in the Super Bowl, he's led game-winning drives when he's won the Super Bowl. So he's great in those moments.
In the NFC Championship game that we had against the Packers, They had a 5-point lead. They're right on the verge. They're right within field goal range. I mean, they couldn't afford to take a sack. And I commented on it before the snap of the ball that, Brady cannot take a sack. He knows that better than anybody, right? Because I just know how his mind works, and how he's not going to make a mistake like that in that area, knowing how important those 3 points were. Well, the ball snapped, and immediately he has a free rusher in his face, and he doesn't try to get away from him. He doesn't try to, he just immediately throws it at the receiver's feet. And it to a lot of people, it looked odd. Like, wow, almost as though there was a penalty or a false start on the play. The ball came out that fast. And it was just a great example of him just not going to risk taking a sack and taking his team out of field goal range, knowing how important those 3 points were. And it's little things like that within the game. I've said many times that when you start a game as a quarterback, when you're playing in a 0-0 game, or if in the fourth quarter you're playing with a 7-point lead or a 10-point lead or a 5-point all those things, you play the game differently. You don't take the same risks. You understand how your defense is playing, and all of that has to, as a quarterback, all of that has to be factored in as to what you then have to do as the quarterback of the team to try to move the football or to try to come away with points or just simply not lose it. And I just feel that there's a lot of that art. I don't know how much of that is truly coached. Whereas when you're talking about guys, that are successful on a consistent basis, and since we're talking about Tom Brady, those guys, he understands it. He understands those little nuances and gives his team the best chance to win.
He has the fire inside of him that you don't really see in his position all the time, but it's in him all the time. That's why he's able to play at 40. That's why he's back in the Super Bowl, because he is pretty much Superman.
Mike, you've played in 3 Super Bowls. You won all 3. If you were to be in the Super Bowl right now and you're down 5 with 1.5 minutes left and you got to go 80 yards, do you want right now this season your quarterback to be Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady?
I want it to be Tom Brady.
Still?
Period.
How come?
Right now. Ultimately, Cal, these moments are made on the certain moments that you can make that play when you have to. Don't tell me about what Tom did. Tell me about, did he do what he needed to do to win the game? And the answer has been yes, to the tune of him in his 10th Super Bowl. That's all I want. Aaron Rodgers been in one.
Mm-hmm.
Because somewhere along the line, he didn't make the right decision. It's about decision making. We just get caught up on talent.
We do. And Mike, like I said, you've seen it all. People get caught up in talent and they get obsessed with GOAT. It's all this GOAT talk all the time. GOAT this, GOAT that. Yeah. As a guy who played in the era with a bunch of Hall of Famers, who stood by and saw Montana when you were in the 80s before you got to the league, even go 4 Super Bowls, 4 wins, no losses. Do you think Brady is the greatest to ever do it?
Brady is embarking upon touching the greatest athlete, period, across sports with what he's doing right now. And, he goes, if he wins this Super Bowl and he has the same team coming back again and do it again, we're leaving talking about him being the greatest quarterback. We're talking about comparing him to the greatest athlete, period, to ever live.
I know. It's like he's in that Babe Ruth territory, like historical figure.
How dangerous is Brady?
Well, he's real dangerous. I just think that I commented on it early in the game that I thought those 2 quarterbacks, for young quarterbacks to watch and kind of emulate as far as how they play the game. I think Tom, having had a number of conversations with him about the position, there's a reason why he's won as many games as he has. And yes, he's had good players around him. He's had good coaching around him, all those things. But Tom understands all the little details of the game and what it takes to play winning football. And he did that in the biggest game of the year for him yesterday.
I still don't know what it is that drives Tom Brady to work as hard as he does for this many years. I understand the pain of rejection all those years ago, and it's fueled him to work as hard as he does. And in a way, I think we all have had experiences where we felt so much pain from rejection that it's driven us to work harder and longer to prove whoever rejected us that they were wrong. However, I can't fathom how Brady's able to sustain this for so long, and I wonder what it is that's allowing him to do this for as long as he has. Let me know what you think.
And when you don't need to work another day in your life financially, because there are different kinds of currency. You know, there's social currency, spiritual currency, there's psychological currency, and there's that achievement currency. I believe they are driven by a different kind of currency than everybody else. Because if you're doing it for the money, you're long past it by then.
That's a great point. It reminds me of a film that Bud Greenspan, who I mentioned earlier, did. And everybody listening should go watch this film. It's online on YouTube. It's called The Last African Runner. It's a story about John Stephen Akwari of Tanzania in 1968, the Olympic Games. And I won't ruin it. I'll give you the 30-second Reader's Digest. Everybody had gone home. The closing ceremonies were over. He was running in the hour and a half after the race ended. And there was John Stephen Akwari in the middle of the street still running with a broken kneecap. And he finished the race. He finished the race to an empty stadium. The flame had been doused. Everybody had gone back to their home countries, okay? And here was John Stephen Akwari of Tanzania, because it was so beautifully written by Bud. A voice calls from within to go on, so he goes on. You watch this and you will cry. I've watched this 1,000 times. I've cried 995 times. The other 5 times I was distracted by somebody who took my attention. And you see that is within all of us, but the great ones. And so he was asked after the race. In fact, I asked him in 1984, and Bud had asked him several times, why did you finish the race? And he said, my country, Tanzania, saw fit to send me 5,000 miles away to this race. They didn't send me to start the race. They sent me to finish the race.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. I post a new Tom Brady video every day, so please come back for more Brady videos.